Canada has stood on a historic position for decades now that the only true solution for the Middle East is to have a two-state solution, a peaceful, secure Israel alongside a peaceful, secure Palestinian state. Unfortunately, over the past while, we've seen us move further away from that two-state solution. The Israeli government, under Prime Minister Netanyahu, has unacceptably closed the door on any path towards a two-state solution, and we disagree with that fundamentally. At the same time, Hamas continues to govern as a terrorist state, a terrorist organization in Gaza, continues to put civilian lives at danger, continues to refuse to recognize the state of Israel in ways that are also unacceptable. So Canada has decided to change our position from no at the UN to abstaining, to reflecting that our long-standing position that you could only recognize the state of Palestine as an outcome at the end of a process leading to a two-state solution, we now recognize that it may happen sooner than at the end of the process as a way of pushing towards that two-state solution. In the meantime, we will continue to be there calling for Hamas to lay down its arms and release all hostages, calling for Israel to ensure more humanitarian aid is flowing into Gaza to prevent the famine conditions that are quickly developing and the horrific loss of life. There's a lot of work that Canada is doing alongside partners in the region and around the world, and we will continue to stay focused on building a lasting, secure peace.
You're going to flip-flop again in 3 months again.
Thank you. Next question. Great. Thanks so much for taking my question. Your government has now approved the recriminalization of public drug use in BC. What are the advantages of arresting public drug users?
A number of years ago, when British Columbia came to us asking for a pilot project to decriminalize certain drugs, to put the emphasis and the onus on a public health response to the toxic drug supply and opioid crisis, we worked with them. And we moved forward on this pilot project, and when they came back recently and said we need to make an adjustment to it, we granted them that adjustment in terms of public spaces. We're going to continue to take an approach grounded in public health, not criminal justice, for people living with addictions. We're going to continue to follow the science. We're going to continue to work around harm reduction and support for people who are struggling with addictions. We're looking at investing in more community supports and more wraparound services. Every step of the way, we will be guided by thoughtful, compassionate public health principles rather than ideology or criminalization of people who
had the
need
issues
support, need help,
last year.
Don't need jail sentences.
Like,
Next question.
What do you
Mr.
mean?
Trudeau, Nick Johansson, Castanet
You
News.
had compassion.
About 3 years ago, you were here in BC and you promised to support the rebuild of Lytton. We're nearly 3 years past that point, and Lytton still remains very much as it was back in July 21. What's taking so long?
We are
Because he's the worst government ever.
The community. We're also working, obviously, with the province on this. Rebuilding a town is no small task, and the support for individuals in getting through this difficult time.
Your favorite country, China, built a hospital in 3 days.
For this government, we'll continue to work
3
with
years
them
he hasn't
as we
even
move
done anything
forward.
in this town.
But it's yet another example of how much we need
crap
to do
you are.
to prepare and to support people facing
How much you
incredibly
have to
difficult
prepare?
situations.
It's 3 years now.
Wildfire season has already
It's
begun
almost
in BC,
one
but news
term.
is still banned on Facebook and Instagram. You said yourself this is likely going to be a bad season. Last week, our outlet, we interviewed a law professor, and he said, in his opinion, it would be likely Meta would work with Canada. We interviewed law professor Michael Geist last week, and he told us that, in his view, Meta would unblock news in Canada if the Online News Act were changed. Would your government compromise with Meta so that Canadians could once again post news on Facebook?
Yep. It's your fault.
Facebook has made the decision that they shouldn't have to compensate hardworking journalists telling local news stories.
Yeah.
It is a decision by Meta that makes
It's their business
billions
model.
of dollars of profit all around the world.
You can't tell them how to operate
But they
their
have
business, man.
no accountability
They're headquartered in the U.S.
to journalists that actually tell local stories, work hard to actually
This
make
guy
sure
is
people are
off the
properly
rails,
informed,
man.
and instead make money off of sharing of information without recognizing the role they must play in a strong, independent media that is enhancing our
TikTok's not
democracies.
monetized either, dude. Why don't you go get mad at TikTok? Why don't you go get mad at like every
where countries are going to have to realize that either we stand up for journalism and the profession, faced with internet giants that refuse to actually participate in it, or we bow down to them and allow them to make billions more dollars while degrading the safety, well-being, and communities that thrive in our democracy. I know there are a lot of people trying to figure out ways to keep everyone informed, particularly around emergency situations. We had this disagreement with Google, and Google stepped up with $100 million to make sure that local journalism was thriving. This is on Meta.
Which I don't agree with.
This is Facebook deciding that they don't want to support the work of maintaining democracies. And either Canada stands strong to protect information and independent journalism,
dude,
or else we see our democracies further diminished and further vulnerable.
You are the one diminishing it.
Irresponsible web giants that are making billions off of people, but taking no responsibility for the communities and the well-being of those communities that they exist and profit from everywhere around the world. We will continue to stand strong against the damaging impact of Meta, of Facebook, of Instagram, of all of them, until they step up and recognize that funding quality journalism in communities large and small, right across the country and around the world, is their responsibility, as it is all of ours.
Prime Minister, is Canada willing to recognize a Palestinian state even if Israel objects?
I just answered that question. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.